Okay, for the sake of good YouTube content, I, like an idiot, am going to greet my friend Ed with a GoPro camera on my head. He's making his, oh, here it is. Here we go. It's totally not rehearsed. We totally didn't plan for this at all.
No.
It's super not weird with a GoPro on my head.
Hi, bud.
This is a normal recording session.
Normal.
And this is what we do for YouTube, y'all.
Yeah, so I brought all the things.
Okay.
I brought 2 bags of cymbals. I brought 2 bass drums and 3 toms.
Okay.
Do you hear more than a 4-piece? I brought the extras 10 because I was like, I kind of hear that like jam band.
You want to do like a timbale thing?
No, not timbale. So we've talked about it when listening to Goose, and that guy has the like sort of 90s tom sound. It's like pinstripes. I don't have pinstripes on my drums, but that sort of very like clear and focused tom sound, and he uses I think 8, 10, 12, 14.
Yeah.
But I was kind of hearing that. I don't know if you think it's necessary, but I figured why not?
Yeah.
We have the stuff.
Hey man, live your life.
We have the skills.
I have mics set up for a Ringo kit, but I can add another tom without a problem.
Okay.
So, do you want to use your drums or do you want to use my drums?
What do you think will get us that sound?
90s sound?
Mine right now, so I've got the Yamaha Maples. Right?
Uh-huh.
I have 10, 12, 15, 20-inch kick, and 24-inch kick.
Okay.
The 12, 15 are tuned pretty low. I mean, I can tune them without problem, you know.
Okay.
The 10 I haven't used in years, so I have no idea what that sounds like. But they're Maple customs, you know. They kind of sound like what you want them to sound like.
Yeah, let's use yours.
Okay.
For my own sake of selfishness, I always use my own drums. Let's see what someone else's drums sound like.
Okay, love it.
Um,
I'm kind of excited to try and make mine sound like that too.
How are you going to set it up? Are you going to do, is just a normal 5-piece kit, 2 toms up, 1 floor tom down?
Yeah, I brought, so it's like a separate tom cymbal stand kind of thing, just because I didn't have an extra mount. But yeah, so I'll do like kind of that, 12 on the regular spot on the bass drum, and then 15 on the side. But yeah,
Great.
2 up, 1 down. Yeah, that's about it.
Great. Let's get you loaded in.
Let's do it. Which way do you want me to face?
I want the kick drum to face down this hallway.
Okay.
I'm going to have some room stuff heading around there. So as far as snare drums go,
Yeah.
what we were talking about before I remembered to turn the camera back on, you have a Maple.
Yeah, I brought a Yamaha Maple that matches this kit, a Ludwig chrome over brass that records really nice. Yeah, just those 2.
Something that might be complimentary is I have a Tama Star Classic Birch that is super dead.
Oh, cool.
That's big and fat. And then I also have that pipe drum that's like a Keplinger kind of thing that weighs 35 pounds. Yeah, if you do want to use that one.
Let's trust your ears.
Well, let's put up what you've got, and we'll go from there. I remember this kick drum.
Yeah, you do. Who remembers you?
Actually, this is the first time I played a 24-inch kick.
How did that make you feel?
It made me feel shorter than I am.
You definitely have to accommodate.
That was the first time.
Yeah. It's a lot, and that's.
So to just get you all in the inside, I met Ed in 2004, 2006.
Somebody actually just texted me the question when I started in Red 1 and Blue. It was Danielle.
And Ed, our band was opening for Ed's band, and his was the backline drum kit. And a young 17 or 18-year-old Billy did not understand the etiquette of backline drums and what that meant. And I was super nervous because I never met Ed. And everyone said, oh, Ed'll help you. He's like the nicest guy in the world.
Boy, was he wrong.
Boy, was he wrong. He was a jerk. Hey, kid, you can't play my drums.
Don't touch him!
I know you touched my drumstick. that'll work. So that floor tom is 15 by 15?
15 by 13.
Yikes. That's a very interesting size.
Sure is.
All right, so what's the difference between an emperor and an ambassador?
Emperor's 2-ply.
Oh.
Now, what's interesting is these. This is the vintage A, which actually is 2 plies, but they equal. So back in the day when the Remo first came out with these, the ambassador was like a ply of 7 and a ply of 3, and then they started making just one 10-ply. So
you are like, 10-ply, bud.
It's kind of the best of both. And then these are the vintage emperors. So thicker.
All right, so Ed brought another tom that I wasn't planning on it, so we are going to call this rack tom and patch that into 15. And what I did was I was just lazy and ran a 50-foot XLR from my local patch bay here. So what we'll do is we will take our local input 6 right here and patch that. And we are going to patch that into console. Let's see, we need to do console in. Are we doing that on 17? 15, close enough. Okay, and then we are gonna take our console out. Console out. Patch that into interface in 15. And we're gonna take our console in 15, and we're going to patch that into local number 6. And there's that. So Ed, would you mind, let me see if I can get this mic in here like this. I may be able to without any adjustment. If not, I will just come in underneath your hi-hat.
For the snare?
Yeah.
If you think this tom is a stupid idea, let's just strike it.
No, hell no. Oh, look at that. Perfect. I had this inkling this morning. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna use the Beta 56 for the snare drum. And I was right. So Ed, tell us about these drums.
So this is essentially my whole kit. I have all of the drums of this particular series. Circa 2005 Yamaha Maple Custom Absolute with the Novu lug, however you say that. I don't speak French. It was a short-lived thing because they're like a quick release lug, which is pretty sweet if you're changing heads, but I don't really change heads that often. They don't really make them anymore. I'm sure you could special order them because they were breaking, especially in the Stage Custom series. They were breaking a lot because they made them out of plastic. So I've not had any issues, knock on wood, but they sound great. Essentially, it's just the Maple Custom Absolute shells. So these are maple. 10 by 8, 12 by 9, 15 by 13. That's right, 15. And then 24 by 16. Traditionally, I use 12, 15, 20 for my live gigs, but I have this. I found actually the 24 and a 16 online around the same time I bought this kit. So it all matches in the white mica color, which at the time, the guy from Keen and the guy from U2 were also using, and now you can't find any of them. Snare drum, I've got a Ludwig chrome over brass, 5.5 by 14. Heads, I'm using Remo. I've got vintage Emperors on 12-15 and vintage Ambassador on the 10. Clear Ambassadors on the undersides. Vintage Ambassador on the snare drum. I have a weird head situation on the bass drum. Old Aquarian resonant head on the front and Evans EMAD calf tone on the bass drum that sounds sweet. I'm using Zildjian cymbals today, 15K light hi-hats, a 19-inch K Constantinople crash ride, 22-inch K light ride, and an 18-inch K EFX crash effect cymbal, whatever you want to call it. It has holes in it. I feel like cymbals could be subject to change based on what we hear today. We might mix it up. But this is my go-to setup, so I figured we'd start there.
Great.
Any questions, Billy?
No.
Okay.
Let's talk about these mics here.
Yeah.
Okay, so as far as microphones go on Ed's kit, I have a Audix D6, pretty up in the kick drum there. I have it justified towards the right-hand side of the shell, angled slightly in at the beater. I've found that when you put kick mics up against the side of the shell, you get a bit more low end in that way because you're getting the sound waves off the side of the shell. I did end up putting up a Beta 56 on snare, which you can see between the two toms. That's where that's going, which I'm glad that I did that because I wasn't anticipating Ed bringing another rack tom, but that's all right.
Yeah, neither was I.
So there's that, just poked right between there. Toms, I've got an E604 on the high tom for the sake of space, 421 on the mid tom, and a 421 on the low tom. I'm using a Shure SM7 as my crush mic that's pointed right over the top of the kick drum at the snare shell. So in terms of processing, that mic is going to get a pretty judicious amount of compression on the way in, and it also is going to get a subharmonic synthesizer to add a bit more weight to the kick drum. On the hi-hat, one of my favorite microphones, a side address ATM 450. That is a lovely, lovely microphone to have for hi-hats or anything that you need to get in to tight places. That's pretty much my go-to piano microphone. Overheads are AKG 451s. I don't know why I keep calling them 441s. They're 451s. They are pretty low. This is going to give us, despite being a pretty boomy room here, that is going to give us a nice close sound on the cymbals should we need it. Mono overhead is an Aventone CV12. A very inexpensive multi-pattern condenser mic that supposedly rips off the $5,000 AKG C12. If you're lucky enough to get them for $5,000, it's $500, and I've had that mic for like 10 years. I always use my mono kit overhead. As far as room mics go, my top MS stand is sagging, so I promise that it will actually be symmetrical. I've got two 4050s as an MS. The bottom mic is in Omni, the top is in figure 8, and I have two Audio-Technica shotgun mics that are pointed at the corners of the room facing the opposite way of the drum kit. Yes, I know. I'm ready for you in the YouTube comment section for that move. Here is a view of Ed drinking some water, and the kit and the camera trying to focus. So I'm going to head to the control room, and we are going to get some sounds. Maybe. All right, we're going to use about 2-to-1 compression on this. Taking just about 3 dB off the top. A little bit of a high pass. Knock a little bit of low mid out. A little bit of high. Lovely. And the snare drum, please. Okay, and the floor tom, please. Great, and can we have the whole kit?